Welcome to Ask Me Anything, featuring spiritual medium and psychotherapist Kellee White.
Hi, everybody. I am spiritual medium and psychotherapist and author Kellee White, and welcome to Ask Me Anything on April 10th, 2025. Do you believe it? Do you believe we're here even? April 25th. April 25th. I'm already projecting into the future here. This has been quite a week, huh? Well, we're going to talk about this week. So let me say hi to several people. Hi, Mike Vaccaro. Hi, sweetheart. How are you? I am going to answer that question right now, Mike. Mike says, I heard that children live in a sort of a hypnotic state until they are teenagers. And he says, is this true or not true? So I think it's just the opposite, Mike. I think that children are, and we're going to be talking about children, I think that they are in a very clear state, and then they become teenagers, and then they're in a hypnotic state. And men's brains actually aren't even developed until they're about 25. So that's an interesting dynamic, but I think it's the opposite. So I hope that answers your question. Hi, Jen from NNY. Hi there. Hi, Jean. So you love this topic too. We're going to be talking about children and spiritual gifts and how to help them in life. So yeah, parents notice as early as 2 years old. That's right, Jean. That's exactly right. Hi, Sarah. Hi, Therapy Gal Sue. I just love to say that. Hi, Barbara. Hi, the Yoga Children's School of Yoga. Oh, I got a great picture you guys are going to want to see. So thank you. Namaste. I'm so glad you're watching. I think children and yoga is a dream, marriage made in heaven. Hi, Marge. Hi, Michelle. How are you, honey? It was great to see you today. Hi, Angela. Hi, Vicky. How's my heart girl today? Thinking about you, Vicky. Hi, Linda. Hi, Chloe. Hi, Karen. Hi, Cheryl. Hi, Judy. Hi, Lori Counts. Thinking about you too, sweetheart. She always says hi to you, Renee. Hi, Carlene. Hi, Vera from Canada. Hi, Vera. Hi, Rose and Stacy and Evie and Laurel. Hi, Laurel. Hi, Judy and Amy and Dolly and Bailey. Hi. Oh, aren't those beautiful tulips? I love them. I've been working in my office. Our house is being remodeled and we're on floors now. And it's, you can imagine what that's like doing, the entire home with new floors. It's a big deal. And so I've been in my office in our small town here, and I haven't been able to have my fresh flowers, but these are my fresh flowers. So I'm thrilled to be having them. But I thought what I would do is I'm going to talk about the energy. And of course, I'm going to go into the astrology, and then we're going to talk about the special children. And then I'm going to answer as many questions as I possibly can. But I thought it would be fun to start with a message from our guides for all of us, because these are some time. This is some energy that we are experiencing, right? Here we go. And the card for us, for everybody is, you are never alone. Well, that is good to know, because like probably many of you, I have been talking to a lot of my loved ones on that side, my guides, the angels, and anyone that'll listen, frankly. These are some challenging times. And what I really wanted to kind of go over with a lot of people during this particular time that we find ourselves in is your container full? And what I mean by that is, are you up to here with everything? Because most people at this particular time where we are right now, they can't take anymore. Their container is full. And so for everybody that may be feeling drained, exhausted, and I talked about this last week, but I'll probably continue to talk about this. We are going to feel a little shift in the energy in a few days. So the energy will feel a little, probably still combative, but it will feel, you'll be able to kind of start to, feel a little more energy. Okay. But when your container is full, I'm telling everybody to do this particularly now. If you're feeling overwhelmed, exhausted, can't take much more, any of that, go inward and do nothing. Really, give yourself permission to do nothing. Just sit back, observe, pay attention to your breathing, Pay attention to your animals. Pay attention to the flowers. Go get some nature. Sit outside if you can. Listen to some good music. Settle yourself down. If you need to have a glass of wine, have a glass of wine. Anything that will bring you some comfort, because this is a large time on Earth, and there's going to be a lot of changes. And I was thinking about today, like we got through 2020, we will get through this period. I was curious about if anybody has had any strange dreams, and we're going to be covering dreams next week, but I had some experiences with dreams lately, and I kind of wanted to run this out and let anybody know if they've had, and be curious if anybody else has had this kind of a situation. But in 2020, about, I don't know, it started in October for me of 2020. So, it was 2020 was roaring down that year. And I started having dreams all in black and white. Everything was in black and white. All my dreams, I remember my dreams. They're always in color. But for several months, they were in black and white. It was just so strange to me, I don't think I ever even mentioned it, but it was always something kind of, I don't know, I couldn't get a handle on why everything was. I'd lost a lot of people during that period of time, and so maybe that was it, I thought, and probably is. But again, now, this week, it started up with the black and white dreams again. So I am curious if anybody is having black and white dreams. So Judy, you said you're telling a friend that your dreams are now in vivid colors. How great is that? That is great. So I'm thrilled to know that. And again, almost all of my dreams have always been in bright, vivid colors. And that's a big thing. But I just couldn't quite figure this out. So if anybody else is dreaming in black and white that only dreamt in color before, I'd be curious, because I've got to do some investigating into this and some really sitting into this stillness of this. But also what I want to say is this year is going to bring up a lot of, for the next 2.5 years, a lot of everybody's what is my purpose? What am I holding on to? What can I let go of? What trauma am I looking at? Who do I need to forgive? Who do I need to forget about? What am I clinging to? And if you felt like you're called to this, I have a class in June with Carrie Gonia and Shirley and Pellizzari, and we are going to be covering all the roots of healing. We're going to go into the roots of healing. It's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, June 20th to the 23rd. And we're going to be talking about deep, intimate situations of traumas that we've all gone through, or people that are maybe needing to let go. Maybe they need to look at their ancestry, and that's what that's what Carrie's work is ancestral healing. I'm going to be looking at it through mediumship. I'm going to be using, and I'm going to be looking at it through the spirituality of where are you stuck? How can we help move you? What messages am I getting to where you were stuck? And those kind of things. And then Shirley's going to be looking at somatically the body, what's going on in the body. She's going to run us through a lot of somatic exercises to release a lot of traumas. And it's going to be really an extraordinary opportunity to have a transformational experience with mind, body, and spirit. It's very true. So, and we have a lot of special things that we're going to be bringing to this party for people, including we're going to have dinners and lunches and breakfasts and things like that, and a special cocktail event. But also, I want to tell people that, and it's in Burbank, California. So if you can join us in Burbank live, it would be extraordinary. I think there'll be so much healing for everybody involved in this. It's a beautiful hotel, and I'm telling everybody, you can bring your dogs. It's pet friendly. But also, it turns out we are going to be adding a way to attend via Zoom. So if you are compelled, or you feel like you really want to join us, but you don't want to travel, you can't travel for whatever reason, we are going to be doing this, we believe, on Zoom. So just stay tuned for that. So anyway, please join us if you can. So let's talk about the astrology, because we've got some astrology going on right now. Now, again, from April 2nd, frankly, to the end of May, but really close to by the 25th of April, but again, headed really probably into May, we have Saturn and Rahu conjunction. And Saturn and Rahu means chaos. It means chaos. It is, and Saturn is karma, responsibility, this is how we do things. And Rahu's like, really, that's really funny. That's a joke because we're not going to do things like that anymore. So it really will bring a lot of chaos for the next at least 2 months, a lot of chaos here. And it brings major economic turbulence, which is what we are experiencing right now. And it will bring societal shifts. And the last time we had energy like this would have been 1968, the late 60s, 1968 in particular, and then during the mid 40s also. So there's a lot of energy that's coming out in the next period of time that we're in right now. I mean, we really are in it. Saturn means to, and with Rahu means a complete transformation. So individually and externally on the world it's playing right now, but internally you will also feel this kind of either restlessness, or I know a lot of people want to dumb down and numb down, and that's with Neptune in Pisces. It kind of numbs us to things. But this is a really powerful time for activation, and it's the most powerful time we're going to have on the planet for great change, especially if you are in, you're older and you're in your 50s, 60s, 70s. It's going to bring about that kind of change of releasing old wounds, so you don't have to carry them in, because when we go back home to the other side, it would be easier, frankly, in a sense that you could release all of you don't have any more grudges, or you don't have any more anger left against people that have probably harmed you. Again, when you come to Earth, everybody's going to get challenged with, being bullied or being harmed or being, it's just betrayed, isolated. I don't know, betrayed is a big one. There's just so abandoned, that's a big one. These are all wounds this is the time period in the next 2.5 years. We will be working on this. And the more you release of your old memories that are stored, in the body, that's why, again, with Shirley and Dr. Peter Levine, they do incredible work with somatic work, with healing. So it's a gentle way of releasing a lot of the stored traumas and memories that you carry with you, actually. So this is going to be, we're going to view this year, the next 2.5 years, really, because Saturn is in Pisces for 2.5 years in Vedic astrology. It's right where the planets really are. And it's going to be quite a 2.5 years, frankly. Also, let's talk about tomorrow on April 12th. I'm sorry, Saturday, April 12th. Sorry about that. Moving right along. We have a full moon at 29 degrees of Virgo. Now, this is the last 6 full moons, including this one, have been at 29 degrees. 29 degrees is the ending. And it's a very powerful degree, because it's the ending and then a new beginning. So this is the last one, and it's in Virgo, and it's in the nakshatra, the celestial home called Chitra. I'll get that. And 29 degrees goes with endings, which means also new beginnings. This full moon is associated with a lot of clarity, having awareness, looking at what resonates for you that's true and what doesn't. It's like really allowing yourself to go inward, which is what we're all going to be doing, going inward, looking at what is it that can help me be clear? What can I do to be more clear? Or what do I need to be? What do I need to do to get to my goal And what is your goal in life? And I will tell you, I'll give you the answer. The goal is to be more spiritual. That's why we come to Earth. It is very simple, and yet it seems to be so complicated because of all the pain and suffering that has gone on here. But the answer to everything is to go inward and to be have compassion for what you've gone through. That's a great way to start. Compassion and kindness towards you for what you've gone through. And then if you can, be kind to others, especially now. Again, everybody's container is full. And with this full moon in Virgo, that could bring out a lot of focus on goals, but it could also bring out, Virgos have a lot of healing. And so this is a full moon to do a lot of healing with. And also so put your crystals out. And speaking of crystals, I have to show you, Shauna McDonald. Shauna, thank you so much. Shout out for Shauna. She gave me this beautiful selenite bracelet. And selenite is, which I just love, it brings clarity of mind and opens the crown chakra. And it connects to the angels and the higher consciousness. It's considered the sage of stones, helping to clear the energy of whatever is near it. So I love this. So I appreciate that. And I'm teaching with Julianne Siegel a class on crystals on April 26th. It's a Saturday. Is that right, Renee? Do I have the right? Yeah, April 26th. And Julianne and I are going to be talking about using crystals for your work, using crystals for healing, using crystals for your home, using crystals to give as gifts. I think because the world is going to be looking at some forms of healing. So this is again, for the next 2.5 years, you're going to be adding, especially for your healers out there, more tools in your toolbox. As you heal yourself, you heal the world. So there's some very good crystals out there for all kinds of things that are going on here. So anyway, but also on April 12th, we also have Venus direct in Pisces. So Venus is going to go direct after all these weeks. And so it will actually probably help relationships, because relationships have really been tested in the last couple of months since Venus went into Pisces, because it's been between Rahu and Neptune. So it's been a real struggle actually for Venus that is exalted in Pisces, but it's been restricted. But now that it's going forward, it should help relationships, and also it should bring an energy of compassion to the relationship and maybe some understanding of it. But also a big thing that will help everybody with their energy is April 13th, that on Sunday, the sun actually in Vedic astrology moves into Aries. So if you were born between April 13th to May 14th, you would actually be considered in Vedic astrology in Aries. And that Aries is the home. Sun is in Aries go together. It's the home. So there will be a lot more energy. So again, the container is full right now. It will you'll start to, it'll start to lighten up a little bit. Okay. So, and then we'll talk about the rest of the astrology next week, but these are some big times here. And I do want to talk about spiritually gifted children. And because at first I want to start with a picture of my grandchildren, which I have not done before, but Renee, would you put a picture of my grandchildren up? This is Lulu, my little Lulu, and she's 5, and that's August, and August is 8. And I wanted to show you this picture. This was taken several months ago. I took it. I've taught the kids how to meditate, and they love it. Children love to meditate. They love yoga. They love to create. Their energies are so pure and wonderful, and my grandkids go right into a yoga or into a meditative state. And I started that with them with August. I started talking to him about spiritual things at 2. I talked to him about angels, and I did the same thing with Lulu too. I think it's really important And first of all, children can, and they do often, they will exhibit spiritual sensitivities and or spiritual abilities. And how that manifests is they may have a heightened intuition. They may have, and this is the big one, empathy. So if you have a child, a grandchild, a niece, a nephew, somebody that you know that's young, a child, and they exhibit empathy, encourage empathy. And if there are children that don't have empathy, encourage empathy by example. This is how we treat somebody. This is how we do this, because empathy is a signature of seeing how spiritual children are. It just goes hand in hand with it. So there will often be that heightened sense, actually, of knowing, or like a heightened sense of they have an automatic understanding of angels. You will hear some children will talk of God where it was never introduced in a home, not from a religious standpoint. And so these are really special abilities that many children have. And by the way, these children that are here now, yes, you know, I'm going to say it, signed up to be here. They wanted to be here. These are very old souls that are coming in. These young ones are really old souls. They know exactly what they signed up for. And they wanted to be here to bring in a lot of awareness, kindness, compassion, empathy. This is what we're going to see. So what are the spiritual abilities in children? It starts with intuition and empathy. It just starts that way. And children may have a heightened sense of intuition. They may pick up on subtle cues, or they might pick on emotions that others miss. And I remember when my daughter was 2 years old, we were watching, I was watching The Color Purple, and I had been in a car accident. So I just had, Holiday was 2 at the time, and I thought she was taking a nap. She was sitting under the crook of my arm, and in those old days we had the videos, and I popped a video on, and I was just sitting there, and I thought she was taking a nap. And I'm watching The Color Purple, and I feel something wet on my arm. And I said, "What is that?" And I looked down. I had no idea. Holiday was watching the movie at 2 and sobbing. Tears were just coming down her little face. And I knew that I had a very special child then. I knew from the beginning anyway, but I knew, wow, this one has a lot of empathy here. And so they can pick things up when you think they're not paying attention. They are. Children don't miss a thing. They will learn to read your mood, even, particularly if there's a mother or a father that's a narcissist or a borderline or personality disorder, or cluster B, any of the clusters, but particularly cluster B. They will notice how to respond. They'll know, like they intuitively know. They're really something. These special kids that come in. I mean, we can call them. There's different terms for them. They're the rainbow children now, the crystal children now, but they're just special kids that come in. But the sensitivities, some children may be more sensitive to the environment. Okay, so you'll have to watch their environment. You have to pick up on the cues of these special kids because they need special attention. And so the environment, maybe they don't like the feel of something. Maybe they like the smell of this. Maybe they're really sensitive to energy like anger. So you always want to make sure that they are taken care of. Some souls, these young kids, they can feel the energy of other people. And I can tell you from experience with my grandchildren, they'll say, "Oh no, that person, I don't care for that person. No, that one, I don't like that experience, Gigi." They will tell me. And they're very open about it. So you have to pay attention to that. Now, another key thing with these spiritual abilities in children are imagination and creativity. So you might have a child, a grandchild, somebody that you know that has a really strong imagination. That is extraordinary. You want to encourage that, and you want to encourage creative thinking. This is it's a pathway to assessing the spiritual realm. So this is, you can see my granddaughter Lulu will, she started talking about past lives at about 2.5, 3. Probably, I guess it was 3. She had she has such a vocabulary. Both my grandkids do. But at 3, she came in and she started telling her mother about a real traumatic event, actually, that had clearly had happened in another lifetime with a drowning. And it was just an unbelievable story. And my daughter was fortunately knew, tell me all about it. Let's, here we are now, and really encourage her to talk about it and to help her get it out of her system and to keep her safe now, because that happens too. And when they're really creative, they are absolutely connecting to the other side, where all creativity comes from. We all tap into that. And that's why with spirit, you want to be joyful, you want to be up, because that just opens up the door. And with kids, they are joyful and they're up. And the more you not just allow it, but the more you help them and encourage them, it makes all the difference in the world. I talk about when I was 10 and, my dad wouldn't give me any money to buy a cake mix. All I wanted to do was bake a cake. And he said, no, you can make a cake. And I'm like, how do I make a cake? I'm 10. And he's like, no, just go ahead. Here's the kitchen. Here you go. And I was like, what? Okay. And I went in, I made this cake, and I couldn't tell you how I did it, but I did. And my dad said, this is the best cake I ever ate. And it sparked me right like that. So you want to do that with the kids. You really want to give them a lot of encouragement. And then some kids come in that absolutely have mediumship skills. And so when they come to you and this is a perfect example. Somebody might say, a little 5-year-old might say, or even a 3, 4, 5 might say to a parent or a grandparent, oh, I see that picture. That man I see all the time. That man comes to me at night. That man, they'll start to say that to you. So you really want to pay attention. So you really want to validate their intuition. You want to encourage their insights. You want to teach them, I always say, teach them yoga, teach them meditation, teach them how to breathe. They're in a body. Teach them, skill sets for life, which is really want to set them up. That 0 to 8 is so critical. 0 to 6 is so critical. You really want to create a space that they can share their thoughts and their feelings, and they can listen without judgment. Because the sooner as somebody says something negative, you just shut it down. That's right. And that is not what we want to do. We want to keep an open space for these children that need to be able to connect with Source, because that's their natural state. It's all of our natural state. But what happens is through, different generational traumas and our stuff and all that, it gets covered up. In my case, I had to have a head injury to open it up again. We don't need that. But you want to encourage open communication, and you want to keep a safe place for them, okay? You also want to engage in meaningful activities. So here's what I do. I found this thing on TikTok to buy buckets full of crystals. And last time I was in Texas with my grandkids, we were out there, hitting those geodes and talking about crystals, because I'm a crystal freak. And I've got them. I always bring them crystals, and they've learned so much about crystals. And that always helps to engage in a conversation with them, which is really lovely and wonderful. But it also gives them understanding of something outside of themselves, something amazing. So I, teach them, whether it's prayer, that's important. My grandmother, who was a Jehovah's Witness, believe it or not, this is the strangest, it was an oddball thing. She taught me the Lord's Prayer. And I would tell you what, I thank her every day for that. So there you go. Who would have imagined that? So anyway, spending time in nature, encourage them. If they like animals, encourage them with animals, encourage them with nature, but always support their creativity and their imagination. It's going to be critical, because whether it's through art, whether it's through music, whether it's through storytelling. That they love that. Before I put them to bed, you should hear me. I'm like, ooh, they're like, tell me a story. And I'm like, well, I go launch into the story, it's probably more fun for me, actually. It's so much fun. They just love it. So those are all really powerful tools again. And be a good role model for them. Be a really good role model. And how do you do that? Demonstrate your own spiritual practices with them, your own beliefs. I will start with, let's talk about angels. Let's talk about, those kind of things. And, a lot of times they'll say, well, are those ghosts? And I'll say, no, they're not ghosts. No, they're not ghosts. No. And then I'll kind of have to go down that road. But be really patient and have a lot of understanding, because although they're not fully developed, the children, it's really important that you are patient and supportive as they explore their own spiritual journey. So there you go. And I think spiritual nature is everything here for them. I do. And it's interesting because Carlene Reese, you said to me, I have a grandson who is a 22 life path. Now that's fun for everybody. Add up their birth dates and find out where their life path is. I've done that with my grandkids, and I just like to know. Of course, I did their charts like immediately, but I love to know that. But he's a 22 life path. So anybody who's a 22 life path is a master number. 22 life path is, they're builders. They come to leave a legacy. They can build, they can destroy. They are really powerhouses in life. And it has a lot to do with the growth, how much growth their soul has come in with, really. And your son's name is Jupiter Leo. Wow. That is an extraordinary name. Jupiter Leo. Oh my gosh. And his birthday is 7/16. He came in early, so he's not an actual Leo. But there was a period when my daughter was living with us, and he used to watch your show with me. Well, thank you, Jupiter Leo. He always asked if I could have a card for him, and I never chose him. Well, let's get him a card now. First of all, his birthday is 7/16, which makes him a jack of clubs, which is extraordinary. And let's get a card for him. And here's a card for him. Give without expectation. There you go, Jupiter. Give without any expectation. Just be very kind and loving to everybody. That's your card, because you are clearly special. With that name, you are, and a 22, you are. Okay, Patricia Weaver says, my grandson Jordan is 9/19, so September 19th, and he spoke to his deceased other grandmother at age 3 days after she died. Wow. At age 3, days after she died. Wow. He was grieving her loss. I believe she wanted him to know she's still with him. 100%. They often, our loved ones will come to our little ones during this period. She says, I have a picture of her in my home, so he never forgets her. Oh, so that is from one grandmother to another. Oh my gosh. And you are an 8 of spades, and your grandson, because your birthday is March 2nd, and your grandson is a 5 of clubs. So watch for his deep spirituality there, 5 of clubs. And anybody during that period of time, if you're born between around probably the 14th of September to the end of September, has a very spiritual nature there. Extremely spiritual. And we are very close. Oh, I'm so glad you are doing that. C. Tooker says, I would like to meditate in silence, but I have a problem with quieting my mind. I have a problem so that I don't do it at all then. Well, then here's what you can do. I would, if you have trouble quieting your mind, and I understand wanting to meditate in silence, but either some sort of, special music behind you, maybe sound bowls would be helpful. That's always, boy, they always get me when I do sound bowls, have anywhere near them. That always helps me. Chris Brown says, Kelly, I woke up this morning with such anxiety, literal stress and panic. I feel like something bad is going to happen. Probably huge changes. I think it's surrounding my mother-in-law, who's in very poor health. Chris, it may be, honey. There are people that will be exiting during this period. And if I would say, don't have any stress or panic over it. Kind of sit back, allow the energy to that energy to dissipate. Get really grounded, breathe when this happens, and know that you're safe. Chris. Know that you're safe. Right? Just that is a really good practice to do. Tell you know yourself. Tell yourself that you're safe now. So Vera Tugwell says, I'm still having dreams about people I've never met on this side. Okay. I'm starting to wonder if there are people from a past life that are trying to help me through these troubled times. Could be, Vera. Very well could be. I think that the veil is thinner because we need more help. Every once in a while, I'll feel somebody's energy that I hadn't thought about who had passed, period. And all of a sudden, boom, they come through. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I wonder what that's about. And I think that they're always just letting us know that we are there. So Carrie Tucker says, if you live in the area, can you attend without staying at the hotel? Oh, of course, Carrie. Oh my gosh, if you live in Los Angeles, please. You don't have to stay in the hotel. Stay at your comfort of your home and come join us. Oh my gosh, absolutely, honey. You don't have to stay at the hotel. Absolutely. So don't worry about that. So Edith says, I have had crazy dreams, right? I mean, there is a lot going on. Michelle DeFelice says, hospice care for my daughter. Oh, I'm sorry. And let's get you a card, honey. Yeah, 3/9, March 9th. So is that your daughter's birthday, honey? Or is that your birthday on March 9th there? I'm not sure, but hold on a second. Let me see, March 9th. March 9th is an ace of spades. Ace of spades means the deepest part of the ocean. It's the card that is here to understand deep spirituality. So if you are in hospice care with your daughter, that's as deep as it gets, frankly, sweetheart. That is as deep as it gets. Let me get you a card from the guides. Here you go, honey. Know your truth. Know your truth, Michelle. Know your truth. God bless you, honey. That's a big one. Julie Musterman says, Kellee, black and white dreams reminds me of oppression. Right? I know. The color and vitality of life being drained out by force. I think that's pretty accurate. Thank you, Julie. Loss of humanity that prevailed. Yep, that probably sums it up. I appreciate this very much. I knew somebody would write something about that. I appreciate that. 2025 is feeling somewhat similar in that regard. Totally. It's different, but it's similar. And you say that you're afraid. Goodness has to win, though. Praying for good to prevail, as it always does in the end, and for cover and vitality and love to be infused in our lives. It will, Julie. Love always prevails. It always does. Might take us a journey to get there, but it always, don't have any fear, honey. Don't have any fear. I'm telling that to everybody. It's between, fear and love. Choose love and always know you're safe. So just think like that. Elizabeth Preston says, hi, Elizabeth. Thank you, Kellee, for the Zoom option of your class in California. I was just going to ask if you'd be interested in doing one in the Midwest. I'd like to attend, but I'm unable to make it out to California. Oh, I understand. I don't think we're going to be doing one in the Midwest anytime soon, so the best option would probably be Zoom. It's going to be a really good class, I have to tell you, a good 3 days there. Hi, Crystal Cook from New Zealand. Thanks to your team. Love your work. Let's get you a card there, Crystal. Worry is a wasted emotion. Why, thank you, kind sir. It is the truth. Worry is a wasted emotion. There's always better options than to worry. It just is. It just is. Bailey says, I need to release so much. I've lost so many people through natural deaths and cancer. Bailey, honey, I'm so sorry. There's a lot to release. So why don't you begin that process? At least you're aware of it, that you need to do that. Now is a great time. I mean, we're being shook up because, again, our containers, really, you can only contain so much. And so I think this is an extraordinary time to be able to shake out your container full of everything and release everything that you can. I think that would be so good. Marge Webb says, hi, Kay Medley. Marge Webb says, selenite bowls are good for cleansing your crystals. Ooh, Marge, I didn't know that. Wow, that's great to know. And Michelle says, that's beautiful. I just signed up. Great. Yes, Anne Margaret, I was going to make a point of that. I have a huge piece of selenite behind me. Dr. Shirley gave that to me when I moved here to the farm. She said, I want you to have this. It was the sweetest piece. She's just such a great Oh, she's such a great person and wonderful person in my life. Nancy Dominic says, "Can I get you a card?" Yes, I can, honey. Here we go. Stay open-minded. Okay, Nancy, you know your husband got that one. You know that, Nancy. That's hilarious. Susie writes this, "I've been feeling flu-like all week." Right, Susie? It's the truth. Came out of nowhere. Could it be part of this energy? I think it absolutely is part of this energy and everything that's going on in the planet. And if you are sensitive and an empath, it feels like being drugged. It feels like flu. It feels exhaustion, fatigue. I remember when Greg Braden was on our show, and he's such an icon of wonderfulness, such a bright, brilliant man. And he said to James and to me, he said, "For the next 10 years, you need to really take physically good care of yourself." I'll never forget that as long as I live. And so you really do, when you can come out of this kind of a foggy bottom energy, when you can come out of this, then you really want to start taking really good care of yourself. Okay, whether it's through drinking a lot of water, through meditation, through going slowly. What I have noticed is the energy has kind of pulled me back to go slower. I just feel like I go slower on things now. I don't rush through things anymore. I actually don't. Hi, Dee Dee from Chicago. Edalee Mullen, can I have a card reading from Ireland? Yes, you can, my friend from Ireland. I hope this makes sense to you. Learn from your mistakes. I think that's hysterical. Now, Vicki, I'm going to get you a card, honey, from your beloved Mike. Whoops. Here. Hold on a second. These are from James's cards, Talking to Heaven, which I love these cards. Talking to Heaven. Okay, honey, let's get you a card. I am here helping you. He's got the flag. I know that's coming up for you soon. I know, Vicki, it is. And Lori Counts, I have a card from your dad too, honey. I watch over you every day. And you know he does. He watches over you and Kiko. You know that. Isn't that a beautiful bracelet, Rose? I just love that. I just love it. Love selenite. Hi, Dolly. Lisa Kupka says, "I give crystals as gifts." See, I do too. I think they make the best gifts. My family loves them. I sleep with an amethyst and a healer crystal in my pillowcase. Wow, that is amazing. You just reminded me of something, Lisa. During COVID, I bought a crystal amethyst, Don's gonna flip, bed. I did. And I know where it is. It's up in a closet somewhere. And I think at some point, I'm gonna have to figure out how to, Don, if you're listening, to figure out how to, I know he's thinking, no, it's not gonna go on our bed. But it's like a giant healing, very heavy duty. It was really expensive too. I'm going to have to put this out. You just reminded me of that. So thank you. And Don thanks you. But I think that's wonderfully a great idea. Okay, so just kept on. Hi there, honey. Kellee, I've been having a terrible heavy energy week. Everything is going wrong. So this week, Mercury went direct on the 8th. 7th or the 8th of this week, just went direct. Venus is going direct on Saturday. When you have two of the personal planets that have been retrograde now, they're going direct. It will help with the energy, no question. But always when Mercury stands still and then goes direct, everything goes cattywampus. There's that word again, and Margaret, I said it. Except now this is even more serious than cattywampus. But it energy just goes really, it's just a rough time. But everybody should start to feel a little better. I use that word a little cautiously, but a little more, I don't know, regulated maybe, a little more energy in the next few days. Okay, Chris Brown says, "I broke up with my boyfriend. Maybe I should have stuck it out." Chris, I don't know because I'm not part of that situation, but I will say many, many, many people broke up in the last month, in the last 2 months. I mean, lots and lots and lots. So I don't know if that's the case that you should have or shouldn't have, but it did. It's a big thing. And if you did break up with him, there must have been a reason, honey. You have to think like that. What? It must have been a reason there. So you have to think like that here. So, oh, Evie, thank you. They are adorable grandchildren. They are amazing. Adele Mullen says, I've had multiple of anxiety attacks last week and not being able to control my emotions. Understood? It's on this energy that we're talking about, Adele, that many people are having anxiety attacks because it feels like your life is out of control. But if you can, take your shoes off, stand in some nature if it's warm enough where you are, get grounded, walk around, breathe, listen to some really calming music. I have been listening to Teddy Swims. If you don't know who Teddy Swims is, you should look him up. He's extraordinary. Teddy Swims. I don't know him, but I'm an enormous fan of his music. It goes right to the soul. And I know Lori Counts, you listen to him too, but Teddy Swims he's extraordinary. Just extraordinary. Vicky says, oh, I know this. They are the sweet, most beautiful children. I know you love them. I love them too, honey. Thank you, Sherry. Chris Brown says, my son's teacher had the class meditating. He loves it too. That's the best, Chris. That's the best when a teacher can put their energy into meditating. Oh, I think that's so great. I think that's so great. MLR says, yesterday was my late dad's birthday. I went to his favorite restaurant for dinner. How great is that? I have chills. I asked for a sign, got back in the car, and the mama's all right, daddy's all right. They just seem a little weird. That song was on? Okay, that's hilarious. That is fantastic. Okay, let's get you a card here. That is too funny. Oh, here's another one. Another one for you to know. Girl, you are never alone. It's just not possible. And I say this all the time. It's good for me to get that validated. So Christine Salisbury says, adorable grandchildren, thank you. How did you start meditating with them? I started with August when he was, I probably started at 3, but it really started at 4. I would say, August, now come on, honey, I'm going to show you something. They take to it like swimming, like water. They just take to it, like breathing. I said, now we're going to cross our legs. We're going to sit like this. We're going to take deep breaths, and we're going to start, and we're going to connect with Source. I just talked to him just like that. And he was like, ooh, he couldn't wait. I mean, he would stop in the middle of a street and sit down and meditate. He loved the activity of meditation. So then I would start to put on some different kind of esoteric music for him. Not esoteric, but, some sort of meditational music. Again, sound bowls is even great. It gets their attention. And at the same time, I got him into crystals. And he can recite every single crystal, a property of every single crystal. I'm telling you, he's extraordinary with that. And then from that, we got Lulu into the meditation. And then he and Lulu would sit and meditate. And it's just a wonderful, wonderful thing to watch. You're never too young to meditate. Ever. And you're never too old to meditate. Bailey says, Kellee, when my son was alive, he was autistic. Did he have a gift? Oh, of course, Bailey. He absolutely had a gift. Autism is a gift. Autism is a gift. The things that we will all learn and the things that they will learn. It's extraordinary. I often call them intergalactic souls that come in to teach us something. We're all here to learn. This lifetime is not just about sitting on your ass. This lifetime is about learning. And I don't just mean the things you would, learning knowledge, of course, is probably very important, but learning the patience, kindness, compassion, again, those are the gifts that they bring in here. Patience is a big one too, understanding. Having an understanding another soul is everything. So yes, absolutely. Let's get you a card from him, honey. I am with the rest of the family. There you go, Bailey. He's with the rest of your family. Okay. Julie Markell, she says, Kellee, my son used to talk about his past life and spirit when he was almost 2. That's when they start. That's what they do. He would be playing with a toy and then almost trance-like talk about spirit. That's exactly right. So they don't remain in a state like that, but they go into it. My grandson August at 4 started telling me all about heaven, and the reason he did is I was actually in bed. He came to jump into bed with me, and he said, "Gigi, can I talk to you?" And I said, "Sure. What do you want to talk about?" And he talked about he's anxious about his teacher. He was sure his teacher didn't like him, and I trusted him because he's very, very intuitive, and I don't think she did, because I don't think she had any patience, and he was picking that up. And I said, "Well, August, can I ask you something?" He goes, "Yeah, what?" And I said, "What's heaven like?" Without missing a beat. And this is a child that didn't have any religion. He said, "Oh, heaven, it's so beautiful, it's magnificent." Now, he has a huge vocabulary, even at 4. It's magnificent. I paint in heaven, and the colors in heaven, and I paint in heaven. And I said, "Are you going to paint here while you're here?" And he goes, just like this, "No, I'm going to do something else." And then before I could say, "What are you going to do?" he ran off. So that was the extent of that, but it was a really important conversation. So, and Chris then says, "Your daughter loves carrying around your crystals." She says she's a witch. Please don't tell your teacher that. That's the truth. Oh my gosh. Cheryl Wharton says, "I've seen a young lad in England talking about his past life." There's a lot of that. And I'm not sure if his parents realize this gift. I would bet that they would. If you saw it on some show, then they probably are aware of it. Some children, usually it lasts from about, I don't know, 3, 4, 5, possibly 6, but that's a little cutoff time, I think. But maybe, but then there are the ones that will go till about 10, 11, 12, especially around 10. They will really, if they are amongst non-judgmental people, they will talk about it. They can give names and dates and places that there's no way they could know. They will talk about their mother. They will talk about their father. They will talk about their sisters or their brothers. It's really something. Now, why does that happen? Why is there a spillover? I don't know, really. I don't really know why. Before we incarnate, for that lack of a better way of saying this, we almost drink something that kind of shuts our memories down, so we can't fully engage here. But some souls, I think, come in with that gift of remembering to let other people remember, to help other people understand that this isn't their first rodeo, and it's not your first rodeo here. So I think some souls participate in that journey of waking people up on earth, because once we can have that experience of understanding why we're here, or understanding that there's a greater source, this is not it, folks. There's a way bigger source. This is what we call a school. Very hard school, very hard school. So when it's such a hard school, people forget, and they forget about the reason we're here, which is to learn to all get along, which is to learn to be kind and to build a bridge of kindness to somebody else. Those are the main reasons. So a lot of these souls, they're advanced souls that come in. And I think it's probably to help people understand here. Adeline Murch. Hi, Adeline. I know you're from Australia, honey. How are you? When my niece was about 1.5 or 2, she could tell you that I was sad. See, that's an empath. Not about something specific, but more of a deep sadness. That is very much an empath. Could be a good therapist, too. She hugged me and patted my back like an adult or a friend would do to comfort someone. She barely talked it. It was so sweet and yet so profound. Wow, what an experience that you had. How is she now? I would love to know how she's doing now with that. You know, Evie says, children are so in tune with spirituality and feelings around them. Oh, they don't miss a beat. Kellee LaPiana says, Kellee, where do you recommend to get authentic crystals? I always go to the Crystal Shrine. The Crystal Shrine. And in fact, it's in Burbank, California. And it's Ask for Shauna. And what Shauna can do is she can do a FaceTime with you in real time, a FaceTime. And she can show you, are you interested in this crystal or this crystal? She buys the greatest crystals. She has the best crystals, I think. around. I get a lot of my gifts for people from her. I've known her for many, many years. She goes all over to get crystals and really has an insight into each crystal and what they're for. But that would be in Burbank, California. And you can Google, the name of the shop is the Crystal Shrine. And on my website, if you take our crystal class, or if you want to even look into our crystal class, Shauna is selling for our class. We don't get any of the proceeds of this, but Shauna is selling like a box of crystals that we're going to be talking about for our class. So if you needed crystals, on our Crystal Connection class, if you go to my website, kelleewhite.com, you can find that she has a box there of crystals. I think it's $25 or something, but she's got great crystals. And before I forget, I just want to let everybody know I have some time in my schedule next week. If you were thinking about having a session with me, I do mediumship. I do a combination mediumship and looking at your chart. I do yearly readings. I do soul counseling, spiritual counseling, with whatever's going on in your life. You need some help. It's probably a good time to have a session with me, actually. And so anyway, just know that I'm available for that for next week. I believe I have next couple of weeks. I think I have some spaces. So you might want to look at that. Carissa Carrington says, my son, who is now 23, would tell me about how he died in his last life. Wow. He always spoke of a man named Jacob who helps him through life and earth. He would see spirits everywhere. He would just simply ask me, who is that lady there on the bed? He would describe them to me. He went through a period of being very scared of his gift, but now knows how to deal with the constant spirits. He finally is turning off his bedroom lights at night. So that can happen as well. And I've had a lot of experience with that. And it used to, alarm me a lot, frankly. And then, I don't know, it just ceased to, to bother me anymore after that. Then I got to a point where I'm like, look, guys, I have to sleep. So none of that goes on anymore. But it's interesting when that happens, Carissa. Carissa, it really is interesting. Hi, Tammy, all the way from Alberta. Yeah, Rose, you remember from my book? Yeah, I had a lot of this. And Margaret says, God, I wish I had this growing up, right? I mean, I know you were a latchkey kid. I know a lot of us were latchkey kids, though. So, Michelle, yes, crystals are powerful and healing and all of those kind of things that you want to do. And Lisa Cupkey says, my grandson is so empathetic and so kind, and his birthday is 7/17. So that is, I believe, a 10 of clubs. 7/17, July 17 is, July 17 is the Jack of clubs. I'm sorry, Jack of clubs. Yeah, very, very sweet. Very, very sweet. Which deck am I using? I am using James Van Prague's Talking to Heaven and Messages from the Spirit Guides. Is what I'm. Okay, Susan writes, can I have a card for my 14-year-old son? His birthday is 12/19. Absolutely. So 12/19 is a Queen of Hearts. So somebody that is, I think, has very can connect with females. Can connect with females very well, actually. And so let's get a card from him. For him, have an attitude of gratitude. There you go. Have an attitude of gratitude. Well, everybody, have a great week. Remember the container, visual the container. Visualize your container. It's full. You got to take some of that stuff out, whether it's through a release on this full moon. That would be a great day to do a release on Saturday where you just start to let go what you can let go of. If it's an old grudge, an old wound, an old whatever, start with that. It's kind of a funny thing. When you start with one, all of a sudden, a lot more things come up to release. It's like you get stuck there and then the plug comes out and then you're like, whoa, this is a great full moon because it's in Virgo. Whew, it's a great full moon for healing. So do that, everybody. So and join James and I on Monday. We are having a special guest to talk about, wait for it, UFOs. I'm not kidding you. She's a specialist in UFOs. So join us on Monday. All right. Take care, my friends. Really. I'll see you next week. Bye.
You've been listening to Ask Me Anything. featuring spiritual medium and psychotherapist Kellee White.